everybody! Welcome to Half the Battle. It's about time we got back to the comic.
And this time, it's issue 38, Judgment.
And we're finally here!
At last, we're gonna deal with the assassination attempt on Cobra Commander by his own freaking son that happened 5 goddamn issues ago. That's almost half a year of real time that's passed, and only now has Cobra Commander stopped sulking in his room to take care of business.
Now, you'd think that they'd devote the entire issue to this, but nope. No. They have 3 separate freaking storylines running through this comic. 3!
2 stories deal with the Joes, and 1 is dealing with, well, Cobra Commander and his son. I'm gonna tackle them one at a time. We'll start with the first Joe story. Ripcord, Gung-Ho, Roadblock, and Stalker are being sent to Sierra Gordo, a banana republic in disarray after Cobra pulled out of there. United States citizens were sent there as peace negotiators, but most of them were killed, and the Joes have to rescue the survivor. As you can tell, this issue has a lot of exposition.
So yeah, we're gonna be here a while, folks.
The hostage, by the way, turns out to be Dr. Adele Burkhardt. She should be familiar, as we first and last saw her in issue freaking 1 of the comic, where she accidentally built a doomsday weapon and was kidnapped by Cobra. And now she's back, having been kidnapped again.
She's like the Princess Peach of the G.I.Joe universe.
While on the plane, Ripcord has misgivings about the mission, considering Burkhardt is anti-military and opposed to everything they fight for. Stalker lays the smackdown on him, saying they're fighting to ensure she has the right to think and say whatever she wants.
They're laying on "This is America" a bit thick here, aren't they?
Once they land, they are greeted by a mysterious guy in the shadows telling them they have no business in his jungle. Stalker isn't impressed, saying they outnumber him 4-1, only for them to be ambushed by some natives, working for Todd in the Shadows over there. Stalker finally recognizes the guy as being Recondo, a new Joe that we did see, albeit briefly, in a previous issue. He's made friends with the Tuscaderos.
Wait, no, sorry.
Yeah, they're called the Tucaros. I was thinking of something else entirely. And they fight alongside him. By the way, it's a made-up tribe for the comics, native to Sierra Gordo, which is also made up. They sneak up on the fortress holding Dr. Burkhardt. It's a former Cobra base taken over by revolutionaries. It's at the base of a huge cliff face, and the Joes figure the only way to sneak in is by rappelling down from above. And that's where the story ends.
Yeah, this one is continued in the next issue, so we're just gonna have to wait.
The second storyline deals with the Joes having gotten intel on a Cobra agent, so they're gonna pay him a visit. They suspect him to be responsible for the ambush at the carnival from last issue, which is weird because I thought that was just a coincidence.
Huh.
They arrive at his house, and hey look, Duke and Lady J are wearing bulletproof vests. It's funny how the Joes never seem to wear them unless they get shot, like Hawk way back when. So we can guess what's coming next. Also, for some reason, the vests are bright red and resemble the outfits Flash and Grand Slam wore. So, naturally, they do get shot and the Joes storm the house. There's a firefight, but we never see who they're shooting at. It's only at the end,
in an awesome moment, by the way,
we see Tomax and Zemat driving an ATV out the frickin' window with a Crimson Guard at the rear. By the way, this is the first time we see a proper Crimson Guard uniform in the comic, after that child's Halloween costume that introduced them and the Hiss Driver screw-up from last issue. So, naturally, the bad guys get away. Big shock.
But that's not the story here.
Bongo the Balloon Bears fan drives up. Candy gets out and...
Holy crap, 80s attack!
Look at that outfit. What, was she auditioning for the role of Dazzler? That outfit is so 80s, I feel it should be accompanied by the entire cast of the A-Team and Miami Vice.
Can't look away. Ugh. Sorry about that.
Anyway, the big reveal here is that the Joes have raided Candy's house, meaning her father is the Crimson Guard they were looking for. And that's how that story ends in this issue. That just leaves us with the Cobra side of things, the one we've been waiting for, the trial of Billy.
I'm actually really curious what's gonna happen here.
This is also where I get to talk about the cover, since it pertains to that story. That's why I held off on it until now. Destro and Storm Shadow seem ready to face off, though Stormy seems to have brought a sword to a gunfight.
Then again, ninja, so I'm sure he's gonna be fine.
The trial of Billy opens with Cobra Commander saying it's not actually a trial, since he's clearly guilty, and him being his son is irrelevant. The whole idea is to discover if there were any co-conspirators. In the Cobra justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important guys. Cobra Commander, who is judge and jury, and Destro, who prosecutes the offenders. These are their stories. I do love how the various people are shown here. Firefly looks bored out of his mind, as do the Dreadnoks, while Zartan and Storm Shadow look interested. Meanwhile, the Baroness and Blood are clearly concerned. Logical, really, since they are the ones who put Billy up to this. Oh, and I think Wild Weasel is asleep. It would explain why he's wearing his freaking pilot's helmet at a freaking inquest. He can take a nap without anybody knowing. Anyway, in a torrent of exposition, just look at all that damn text, Destro says Billy must have had help, and states everybody had something to gain by the commander's death, so they're all suspects, including the Dreadnoks. Though, considering these two have the combined IQ of a Caesar salad, I'm not gonna count them. At the mention of his name, Blood does seem to soil himself, though. Zartan says there's a simple solution to the problem. Just strap Billy into the brainwave scanner. You know, that thing Dr. Venom came up with a long time ago, so they can just read the kid's mind. There's some objection to this, as the process is incredibly painful, but the commander does finally order that his son be subjected to the thing. Torturing a teenage boy, who happens to be your son, to get answers. I don't think even Jack Bauer ever went that far.
And I remind you, this is a comic designed to sell toys to kids.
Since you can block the brainwave scanner by dredging up painful memories, things take an unexpected turn. Instead of the conspiracy, we see a memory of Cobra Commander creating Cobra from Billy's perspective. And this is actually the most important thing in the comic from a mythos building perspective. Turns out the commander was upset the government called his sales techniques a pyramid scheme, so he decided to go underground and create an organization that would gain power through extortion and terrorism, coiling around the world like a cobra.
And that's why Cobra isn't an acronym, kids. Now you know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I.Joe!
We see him holding rallies claiming that anybody should be able to work as much as they want and earn as much as they want without government interference.
Holy crap, Cobra Commander is a libertarian. You know, this explains so much.
Like his love of doomed underwater bases. It's at this point that Cobra Commander, the one not in the flashback I mean, stops proceedings as Billy is revealing classified material that has nothing to do with the case. Though if you want my opinion, he's probably just worried Billy is gonna dredge up the memory of him getting drunk and doing the Macarena in a tutu or something. So he orders him imprisoned until they can find another way of getting the information out of him. Meanwhile, Storm Shadow is impressed with Billy's integrity, protecting those who really don't give a rat's ass about him. In fact, the ninja is so impressed, he decides to sneak into the cell block, take out the guards, and set the kid free. As they get out of the cell, they're confronted by Destro, hence the cover. He says even Storm Shadow can't outrace a bullet.
But come on, dude. Like I said, he's a ninja. Destro's got no chance.
And sure enough, he rushes the guy and avoids getting shot by like a microsecond, conveniently taking out a light at the same time. And I say conveniently because there's no way he planned that, even for a ninja. They manage to get outside and flee Springfield together, ending this part of the comic. And that was Judgments.
It was a really good issue, but exhausting.
There was just a ton of story crammed into these 22 pages, and with so much text I felt like I was reading Lord of the Rings. It was all worth it though, and this is what happens when the comic can just focus on the stories. You'll note that not a single new character or vehicle was introduced here to sell toys. Unless you want to count for Kondo, who was introduced in an earlier issue, but didn't get anything to do there. All 3 story threads actually revolved around characters that weren't from the toy line. Billy, Candy, and Professor Burkhardt, even though she didn't even appear in the issue.
The comic really shines when it doesn't have to force new toys down our throats, but can do its own thing.
It's just like the earlier Quinn and Dr. Venom arc, an excellent tale centered on non-toy characters. Now, excellent though this focus was, the best part for me was getting a look into Cobra Commander's past. It's done very rarely, so these crumbs of information we do get about the guy should be treated like a feast. And I'm glad we got some more insight into the guy. Overall, well, when the only thing I can really bitch about is Wild Weasel wearing his helmet during a trial, you know this was a great issue, and I highly recommend it.
See you next time, everybody.